Console, online. HPG connection, online. Educational module, online. All systems, nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs Podcast, episode 66. I am your host, Brent Stewart McKee. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Chandler.
Today we're going to talk about the Black Knight, a beast with a bounty of lasers.
There we go, bounty of lasers. I like
He'll
it.
also bite your ankles off if you give him the opportunity.
Now, I would all like us to take a moment of silence for all the Monty Python references, and then we will move forward unobstructed during the episode.
Always look on the bright side of life. Do-do, 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 do-do.
All right. Well, so the Black Knight is a machine that from the very beginning approached perfection. It is an iconic and quintessential heavy mech that has built a reputation on the battlefield by taking apart its opponents. Developed and built by Kong Interstellar at the beginning of the Reunification War and first deployed in opposition to the Terran Concordat. Quickly after its debut, the SLDF quickly requisitioned more from Kong Interstellar and prioritized them to command positions.
I guess that's being true to its origin story, being the bad guy. It was deployed in opposition to the Terran Concordat.
It moves for no man.
Well, I guess, the Star League would say we'll call it a draw then.
Yes.
After 10 years of warfare.
What was that about our moment of silence there?
I know. We're terrible people. Yeah, we tried.
We tried about 5 minutes. Or 5 seconds in.
Yeah. To be fair, it was a good setup, as its electronics made it ideal for command and coordination. Kong was the sole manufacturer of the Black Knight, and so when their factories were damaged during the First Succession War, new production of the machine ceased. Kong Interstellar was not able to properly rebuild its factories to produce Black Knights until the 3060s. The Black Knight was able to avoid extinction for two reasons. The first is that Kong was able to retool after the attack to make high-quality repair kits for the Black Knight. The second is that to stop a Black Knight, you essentially have to take it apart. In the year 3063, Kong licensed the Black Knight designed to Robertson Standard Battlemechs, who have produced many models of the Black Knight. So much so that many have commented that Robinson should leave good enough alone. The Black Knight is a machine that is favored by many militaries, and so it is not ubiquitous, but a common, if scary, sight. It resembles its namesake, and so is human in proportions, and appears to be in a suit of armor. The clans, Draconis Combine, Federated Sons, and now the defunct Republic all favor this machine, and so it is common to see them in the militaries of these nations.
I have to say,
rest in pieces, Republicans.
The new Black Knight art is some of my favorite, because a lot of the new art has been very just angular and blocky, but with the new Black Knight, there's a lot of rounded stuff going on. It's almost too human in that it could easily be a suit of battle armor, but it's still a refreshing divergence from the squarishness that we've been seeing so much of.
Too human? Wasn't that a video game?
I believe it was, but I don't think I ever played it, so I can't comment on whether it was good or not.
No, I never did either.
Yeah.
I just remember it existing. Shout out to Too Human for existing, I guess.
Not getting lost to the ether of time is a thing, I guess. Well,
Yeah.
The Black Knight has the design quirks of being a command mech, and the first one we are going to talk about today is the BL-6-KNT, and this guy first appeared in 2578, and it has a movement profile of 4-6. It's got a small laser in the head, a Beagle active probe in the center torso, a large laser in the right torso, a medium laser in the right torso, and then the same in the left torso. It's got a PPC and a medium laser in the right arm, and a medium laser in the left arm. It's got 20 heat sinks, and it has endo steel.
How many medium lasers did you count?
4. So there is one in both the right and left torso, and one in each arm.
Okay. And then 2 large lasers in the torsos and a PPC, and just to make sure it has the full smorgasbord, it's got a small laser in the head. Just nuts.
Little laser have strength.
Was this originally a advertisement for Magna lasers, or?
I'm not too sure, but it definitely is a good mech to have you figure out which range bracket you like to use lasers in.
It's also a good one for you to figure out how to manage heat, because it's only got 20 heat sinks with all of these lasers.
Mm-hmm. Meaning if you open up even with half of your armaments, you are going to heat up very, very quickly, because a large laser and a PPC and running will make you heat neutral.
Now, the original TRO 2750 entry has some fun, non-standard information that I think kind of got lost in the last 30 years of game development. Like the Beagle active probe in this guy, according to TRO 2750, can pierce standard ECM devices at short range, and the small laser is tied directly into the Beagle active probe, which allows the Beagle active probe to scan to ride the laser pulse through interfering objects. So they can literally power down the small laser and tie it into the Beagle active probe and use it to scan low power through windows and other obstacles to see what's on the other side of the obstacle.
That's pretty
nifty. Scanning
nifty.
Laser.
I don't know how you would codify that in rules. And I think, doesn't the Beagle active probe go out to 4 and the small laser only goes to 3? So technically, isn't just the Beagle active probe better?
Yes, but you're turning the laser into a scanning beam for the Beagle active probe.
I'm not saying it's not cool, especially if there's smoke or like smog or fog on the battlefield. You know, you get that alien effect.
Turn your small laser into a flashlight.
Yeah.
I just find it's one of the things I love about some of the older TROs and other novels and stuff is they don't hold themselves to a lot of the standards we're used to.
Well, they were still developing the standards.
Yeah, but it also gives us a reason to go, okay, we can do some weird stuff outside of the normal lines we color in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What comes to mind is the story of the Davian mech warrior who was able to like reconfigure his comm system, and so much that they were like, ooh, we need to copy that. You get to New Avalon, so you, and it's like, and he got headhunted by the Draconis Combine before they could secure him. Like, that's a cool story that fits right into that niche.
So, since it has a head laser that can also be a scanner, does that make this thing Liberty Prime if you paint it blue and red and give it a big star?
I mean, the original art does not look that off from Liberty Prime, to be fair. It's got the big beefy forearms. It's got that, can head. I'm pretty sure it's sealed all the way around, where if I'm remembering correctly, Liberty Prime was just kind of the front faceplate and exposed electronics on the back. But yeah, it's close enough.
Lasers are non-negotiable.
So the 6 has a battle value of 1551 and a point value of 39. We then come to the 6B in 2751, and this guy, of course, is the Royal unit, so B for bling. We have the movement profile of 4-6. We have a medium laser in the left arm. We have an ER PPC and medium laser in the right arm. We have a large pulse laser and medium laser in the left torso, a large pulse laser and medium laser in the right torso, Beagle active probe in the center torso, and a small laser in the head. This guy also has endo steel like the original 6. But the neat upgrade, as well as switching to an ER PPC and pulse lasers, is it downgrades to 16 heatsinks, but they're doubles.
Yeah, you kind of need them on a Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, any laser boat needs double heat sinks, really.
Not wrong.
And the Black Knights just are a good example.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I normally don't like large pulse lasers because the range is really short on them, relatively speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got that ERPPC and you've got a laser boatload of medium lasers, which actually synergize pretty well with those large pulse lasers. So I don't mind it on this guy.
Yeah, like the 6 is a bracket firer and the 6B is a brawler. Like, it just wants to close that distance so it can be using those large pulse lasers as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that.
And it's got the ERPPC for heavy backup.
Mm-hmm. For when it's closing.
It's got an ERPPC as a sidearm.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And I mean, it's got no minimum range, so you can use it right up close. Now, the 6B has some absolutely fantastic art that we talked about earlier. It's got the Redux that does not look heavy industrial, but it looks very nice and sleek. I really like it. I especially like the helmet because it's got the comm system on the right side if you are the pilot, left if you are looking at the art, and then it has the small laser on the other side. And like the helmet just looks good, and it also looks like a night helmet.
Yeah, they even added some breathing holes.
Yeah.
Which I understand it goes into that Black Knight aesthetic. This makes it look more like a 13th century great helm, but I kind of don't like it.
That's fair. I mean, just headcanon that's the paint job.
Right. Okay. I'll do that. I was going to say the other big issue is it's extinct, but it is not. Once we get into the Republic era, Dark Ages, Best Ages, it becomes available to a lot of people, including mercenaries. So this is going back on my 350 roster.
I did not realize it had come back. That is pretty spiffy.
Yeah, it's Comstar Word of Blake only after the early succession wars.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Up until the Civil War when the Free Worlds League gets it back because, they're allied with Word of Blake. And then the Scorpion Imperio gets it during the Jihad, so during the Wars of Reaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, the Draconis Combine, Fed Sons, Lyran Commonwealth, Mercenaries, and Republic gets it in the early Republic, and the Free Worlds League gets it as well in their multiple small nations.
Mm-hmm.
So basically everybody but Capellans get it, because those guys.
The Capellans don't like it because it's not, they don't have an analogy. They can, if they're going to use a Black Knight, they're going to have to rename it because the Black Knight's far too Davian for them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't know Wushu.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1627 and a point value of 42. We then come to the 7 seen in 2809. This guy has a movement profile of 4/6. The small laser in the head, large laser and medium laser in the right torso, same in the left, PPC in the right arm as well as a medium laser, and then a medium laser in the left arm. And it goes back to those 20 single heat sinks, and this guy does not have endo steel.
Or the Beagle Active Probe.
Mm-hmm. So this is definitely a Succession War side grade to make it able to be maintained.
Yeah, and it's also, I wouldn't necessarily say a side grade. This is a straight up downgrade. We don't have the endo steel, we don't have the advanced sensors.
Yeah.
So strip those out of the design and rebuild it around a standard chassis with less sophisticated electronics.
What can I say? I was trying to be charitable.
I mean, it's still not bad.
Oh no. By no means is this a bad machine.
It's classic Succession Wars. We like this mech, but can't make parts, so fix.
Mm-hmm. So this guy's got a battle value of 1443 and a point value of 34. We then come to the BL-7-KNT-L. So this guy came out in 2809, and it's got the classic Black Knight movement profile of 4/6. It has the small laser in the head, the large and medium laser in the right and left torso, and then it has a large laser and a medium laser in the right arm, and then a medium laser in the left arm. It's got 22 heat sinks and the classic skeleton, so again, no endo steel.
And no, it is not L for Liao. It's L for large laser.
Mm-hmm. Because it takes out that
Large
PPC and
laser.
replaces it with a large laser. And of course gives it 2 more heat sinks, which I think is a pretty good trade-off.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much as the other ones, but I feel Chandler and I are obligated to because the only 2 nations to use it are the Free Worlds League and the Taurian Concordat.
Yeah, I actually kind of like it just because you can fire all 3 large lasers and run and not get into any sort of overheat issues. You'll generate 4 extra heat, but that's not going to kill you by any means.
Mm-hmm. It's well within that bracket that you can play with.
Yeah.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1409 and a point value of 33. Next up, we have the Black Knight 6 Ian, and this is the personal ride of Ian Mckinnon, and it has a movement profile of 4-6, and then it has a possibility to go 5-8 when it has its TSM active. And an interesting note about this record sheet, aside from being from the Sword and the Dragon, is that it lists its weapons in classification instead of location order. So it has a hatchet in the left arm along with its medium laser. In the right arm it has a PPC and a medium laser. In the left torso it has a large laser and a medium laser, and the same in its right torso. It's got 12 double heat sinks.
No, that is wrong.
What
it has,
the heck? No.
It has 15. No, it has
Prototype
12.
levels.
It has 12 regular heat sinks, I think. And
yeah, okay, yeah. So it's got 12 regular and 3 double prototypes.
Yeah.
Because this thing can
Makes
sink
sense.
18 heat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have not seen that notation on a record sheet before, so it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And of course, prototype double heat sinks are unstable, so that's why you want to be careful with those.
Yeah, bad times.
Or am I thinking of the experimental doubles? Or is that
probably
both?
the same thing. Probably both.
Yeah. All right. So definitely pretty neat having that TSM and the hatchet, as well as this being a laser boat, so you can definitely heat up nice and quick if you need to.
Yep, and it's I like the melee on it. The TSM and a hatchet. That's pretty brutal on a heavy mech, especially since it retains basically the full armor and a standard fusion engine. This is a really good Black Knight. It's too bad it's a unique.
Yeah, I know. I both like and dislike that these random, named units come out and they have all the cool prototype stuff, and it makes sense because it's like, yeah, we're not going to distribute the prototypes to the rank and file, but at the same time, I think it'd be fun to play with these and have like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this mech, but it's got prototype stuff in it, and I'm going to have to deal with that.
So what you're saying is theme night.
Yeah, I guess so. I like that there's the prototype equipment. It doesn't really do anything that's really interesting, but I like it because it shows you the technological progress and that there's people who can get their mitts on it. And it's like, I'm going to use this even though it could kill me.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing prototype tech become a sort of standard in the Ilclan era as a way to, okay, we're standardizing on a new tech level, and it's kind of this prototype halfway clan, halfway inner sphere, type stuff. But maybe I'm crazy.
So apparently prototype double heat sinks use a liquid heavy metal, which is slightly more unstable. And then the regular ones, I can't really find any information on.
So they're using mercury as a liquid in their double heat sinks on the prototypes?
It does not explicitly say which metal, but mercury would be a good guess considering it is liquid at room temperature. I could imagine lead might also be a decent one, theoretically, as long as the heat differential isn't enough to clog up the system. I'm not exactly sure how liquid metals work through pumps, so space wizards, I guess. But, yeah.
Yeah, you'd also have to keep that stuff really hot, so I don't know.
Hence the work. Unstable. Yeah.
That's why it explodes. It's space magic. We ain't gotta explain.
I do like the idea of mercury because it's already liquid at room temperature, and most coolants, like when you fill your radiator up in your car, it's liquid when it's cool, and then the only reason it stays liquid when it heats up, because it gets above 200 degrees Fahrenheit or 100 degrees Celsius,
is the pressure.
So using mercury that's liquid at room temperature and then amping up that heat, it would theoretically become steam if you took it out from being under pressure, which would make sense for why this is volatile and very dangerous. So it's kind of a cool idea. I don't know if mercury would actually make a good liquid coolant, but it kind of follows basic cooling principles that most people are familiar with. So
yeah, and just so we're clear, that's the experimental double heat sinks from like Experimental Tech Volume 1, because that's the only hard information I could find in my books just now at a quick glance. Not the prototype double heat sinks that we're talking about, which they are trying to recreate Lost Star League tech.
Gosh dang Star League and falling apart. Give us back your technology.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh dang Star League stamping a boot across the face of humanity forever.
Hey, you know, they stamped a boot across the face of humanity, but they did give us double heat sinks.
It makes it all better.
It does, doesn't it?
This guy also has prototype Pharaoh. Just don't think I mentioned that before.
We'll get into why it has all of this when we get to the pilot profiles.
Mm-hmm. So this guy's got a battle value of 1830 and a point value of 38. We then come to the 9 Black Knight in 3052. And this is a clan buster. So this guy's got a movement profile of 4-6. It's got a medium pulse laser and a hatchet in the left arm. It's got an ER PPC and a medium pulse laser in the right arm. It's got a large laser and a medium pulse laser in the left torso, and same in the right torso. It's got a large pulse laser in the center torso as well. And to cool it off, it has 15 double heat sinks, and it's got an XL engine and endo steel.
So this guy is kind of like that 6 Ian we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps the hatchet, upgrades the firepower, but it has an XL engine, which makes it kind of fragile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, the 9
But all those
is...
pulse lasers are real good.
Oh yeah, I mean the 9's like your prototypical clan buster mech almost. Like the only one that's more clan bustery than this, I think the King Crab has a clan buster variant. Like it's that one and this are the two like really big clan busters, and there's a couple others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean this is the clan buster that's on the cover of the new Tukiyid book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same pose too. I'm pretty sure they just took the elemental off its leg.
Or added it.
One of the two.
So this guy can get quite hot very quickly, but it's really cool, and I think, or it's a really neat mech, and I think it would be a lot of fun to play with, especially with that hatchet. Getting up in a clanner's face and chop chop.
It'd also be interesting to run an Alpha Strike because it's got 4 damage base and an overheat of 3, which means you could literally go 7 damage, don't shoot, 7 damage, don't shoot, and be putting out a ton of damage. Yeah, this gotta be interesting.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1678 and a point value of 37. We then come to the Black Knight 10 Ross, seen in 3055, also taken from the Sword and the Dragon book. This guy's
Black Knight Ross?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where's the regular Black Knight 10?
I couldn't actually find one.
What, did Ross steal the prototype or something?
Yeah. Ross is a bad kid.
This guy's got a movement profile of 4-6 and then a 5-8 with the TSM. It's got a ER PPC in the right arm, a medium pulse laser in the right arm. In the left arm, it has a hatchet and a ER small laser. In the left torso, it's got a medium pulse laser and a ER medium laser. Same in the right. And in the left torso, it also has a targeting computer. And the right arm has the ER PPC as well. This is another one of the ones where it breaks it up by category, not by location, and I dislike. Not how I like to look at my record sheets. And this guy has 30 double heat sinks, so going full doubles, and they are no longer prototypes. So definitely able to help with that heat a little bit.
Professionals have standards.
I don't think this is the same, or is this the same mech just later on? Because I don't have that starter book, unfortunately. I have the other 2 or 3.
Ross McKinnon.
Then yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because the other one was piloted by Ian Mckinnon.
It does not formally say in his blurb.
So yeah, so Ross McKinnon is the son of Ian Mckinnon and the grandson of Ross McKinnon. So yeah, very good bet that this is the same mech because it's still got TSM, it's still got the hatchet, and then it's been upgraded with a targeting computer and a bunch of pulse lasers, ER medium lasers. the prototype double heat sinks have been upgraded to full doubles.
Yeah, so this is a standardized version of the previous Ian that we had.
Well, by standardizing it, it moves to standard tech, but it's not a standard model. It's still a unique.
Absolutely. It moves away from prototype tech, I should say. I was imprecise in my word usage.
We got rid of all that fancy-dancy prototype stuff and went to good old regular equipment.
So this guy has a battle value of 2103 and a point value of 43. Anything more on him before we go to the next one, or?
Let's move on to the railroad.
I got nothing.
So next up we have the BL-6-RR, and this guy has a movement profile of 4/6, and it is experimental mixed tech. So it has clan weapons, and it has the base inner sphere chassis. It's got a small laser in the head that remains inner sphere tech. It's got the Beagle active probe in the center torso. It's got an ER medium laser clan and a large laser inner sphere in the right torso. Same in the left torso. Then the arms have a ER medium laser clan and an ER PPC clan in the right arm, and an ER medium laser clan in the left arm.
So it's mostly just upgrading the ERs to clan tech, right?
Yeah.
Basically the medium lasers and the PPC. And to cool it all off, it's got 21 heat sinks, and it has endo steel as a skeleton to help, balance that weight.
Yeah, looks like it was a 6B originally. No, I guess it would just be a 6 originally, because it has the singles. But it's from the role-playing expansion Royals and Rogues. So there's probably a pretty good backstory in there.
Yeah, so I don't know the full backstory, but from what I know, it's an experimental model that was made, and then when it got destroyed, it was never really rebuilt.
So probably a cool set piece.
Yeah. Cool set piece.
This guy was seen in 3057, and it has a battle value of 1954 and a point value of 41. And did I mention that it only has 21 single heat sinks? Because it's going to get toasty.
Yeah, you mentioned it now.
Yeah. Especially since the large lasers and the ER medium lasers have their range brackets line up very, perfectly. So, you don't want to open up with everything.
I mean, you could. Just be a bad day.
Yeah. So for our pilot profiles today, first up we have Captain Wilbur Fuse. From the year of 2711 to 2718, Captain Wilbur Fuse was the undisputed champion of the 124th Royal Heavy Assault Regiment. As a graduate of the Gunslinger program, his skills were not in question, but his mental state was. For believing it would give him an edge or would unlock some hidden secret, he became obsessed with the Wild West gunslingers of Terra's past, going so far as to stop wearing a uniform and adopting a style of dress that replicated what the historical records and media recorded of the archetype. Eventually his idiosyncrasies were enough for him to be rotated back to Terra for rest and a mental check.
That'll do it.
When I was reading this blurb about this guy, I couldn't help but think, what did he actually dress like? And, Back to the Future 3, when Marty goes back in what the time thought cowboys dressed like.
He dresses like Napoleon.
Obviously.
Next up, we got Captain Ian Mckinnon. This is the guy who drives that Black Knight 6 Ian. He was a commander of the elite Fox's Teeth unit. He's got a reputation as a daring, almost reckless commander, and has a flair for independent operations. His superiors have long since resigned themselves to his habit of interpreting orders somewhat loosely. As a master of unconventional tactics, Ian has outthought and outfought the best the Draconis Combine and the Capellan Confederation have to offer. A lot of you will probably recognize McKinnon's Raiders, one of Hans Davian's favorite units, Fox's Teeth.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Knight 6 Ian is actually a relic from the fall of the Star League and has generations of battle damage and repairs, which removed most of its advanced equipment. It was heavily damaged in 3020 at the Battle of Harrow's Sun and restored to operational condition after the Fourth Succession War, and has been since equipped with experimental technology from the New Avalon Institute of Science.
Nifty.
It pays to be one of Hans Davian's hatchetmen.
Yeah, well, when you're in the inner circle, you get all the best tech first, right?
Yes, and in this case, being a hatchetman actually got him a hatchet on his Black Knight.
I see what you did there. All right. Next up, we have Elizabeth Hazen. She is from the Star League era, for those of you who recognize her name. She was part of the Royal Black Watch, where she joined the Hegemony military at legal age, and then by the age of 25, she was a company commander in the Royal Black Watch. She was on Terra when the Amaris Civil War and the Amaris coup started, but she was not killed in the initial attacks due to her not being at her post due to visiting her brother, who had been in a aerospace accident. And she would join the underground movements of the loyal SLDF soldiers, and would eventually link up with Kerensky himself when he liberated Terra, not invaded, unless you are Amaris, then he did invade, and would go with him when he left the Inner Sphere due to what he saw as a inevitable massive war between all the successor houses. Yeah, that word.
Mm-hmm.
She's also the Mama Pigeon.
Yep. And then her story beyond that is tied very closely to the clans and Jade Falcon in particular, as she was the founder of Clan Jade Falcon. Mm-hmm. And that is a story we will cover when we cover the Jade Falcons as a as a group.
I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we just be like, you know what, she gets a data dive or two of her own, because she is a pretty big figure.
Yeah. Maybe not one, well, it depends on how we'd organize that one, whether we do it as her whole life, or if we want to split it up between Black Watch and then the clan.
That would be the logical split point for me, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so next up we have Lieutenant David McKinnon. David was a lieutenant in the 12th Avalon Hussars during the Jihad, and cousin to the commander of McKinnon's Raiders, or the Fox's Teeth. David is a skilled but impulsive warrior, often jumping the gun before given orders to act, and yet his instincts never fail him, for he always acts at the right moment, much to the frustration of his commanding officers. And also maybe that's a family trait?
Probably.
For this reason, he has remained a lieutenant, and during the Jihad, he defended Bede from the Word of Blake mercenaries with the militia, the remainder of his unit, and the Walking Wounded. Given his history, it is no surprise that he took the lead on defending Bede and the surrounding planets until communication with High Command on New Avalon could be reestablished. By the end of the Jihad, he was a founding paladin of the Republic, and that's a story for another day.
You know, after he defended that whole little region as a lowly lieutenant, he really should have been promoted straight to lieutenant general. And they could say he's always been a lieutenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once a lieutenant, always a lieutenant.
Finally, we have Colonel Morton Greenberg, who served 10 years in the Merrick Militia, after which he made a name for himself as a combat correspondent and covered the final years of the Third Succession War, and that coverage was so widely broadcast he became a household name across the Inner Sphere. In 3027, he approached the Tharkad Broadcasting Company with an idea for a documentary series covering the day-to-day lives of a mercenary unit, and thus started the show Greenberg's Godzillas. This show was canned at the outbreak of the Fourth Succession War. Morton Greenberg chose to remain with the quote-unquote cast, which I assume means they just became real mercenaries instead of a reality TV show mercenary unit.
You know what? I could totally see them just being like, okay, cool, we have how much funding? Cool, let's find some pilots, and well, instead of signing someone on, it's like, yeah, we own the rights to this mercenary company, and boom, no contract conflicts. And then once the show went defunct, they were just like, well, we have mechs, so stop us using the name.
at that point, the Black Knight was such a rare mech. It was a great ride for a holovid star, especially one in the reality TV circuit. And fortunately, during its period on that Greenberg's Godzilla's reality TV show, the network fully restored it. So
there
it
you
pays to sign up with the network, I guess.
I mean, we have seen time and time again, if you are backed by someone influential, even if it's a media conglomerate in the Commonwealth or the Combine, see Uncle Chandy, you get some pretty cool tech.
Money opens doors.
Uncle Chandy.
So, for our Battletech talk today, we are going to continue on with the Hour of the Wolf, even though we jumped right to the end there, and we're going to talk about the political implications of what happened, because there's a whole lot to still cover.
Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So, how do we feel about what happened to Tara?
Eh.
I still don't feel like she's the same character we had during the Dark Ages. It does not
Fair.
feel like Tara Campbell to just go, oh, you want me to join the Jade Falcons and rebuild the Star League Black Watch because I'm a Highlander. Okay, sounds good. Like, it just doesn't feel like Tara Campbell to me.
It feels like a little bit of a stretch, but I think also there is a little bit of a Hobson's choice there, going like, what else is she going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've said it on previous episodes. I don't like what Blaine did with her in this book, and I really hope we get more books that follow her more closely, and that the reason she comes off as so flat and unlike her former self is because Blaine just didn't have enough time to devote to making her jive with her old self.
I mean, looking at the positive, I am curious to see how Tara and Chitsu will interact with each other and what they will build. Like, that's one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to reserve judgment until I see how this plays out, because I think it could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really curious to see what the Clanners are going to build, period, because they're not exactly known for being a society that builds stuff. They tend to be the destructive type.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unless they're building guns.
Or the things they build are horrifying. See the society.
I did find it interesting that there are only 127 Jade Falcons left, or Jade Falcon warriors left, and that's going to change the political dynamic pretty seriously.
Yeah, because that's not a lot of warriors to defend a large amount of territory. Like, assuming the Hell Horses have not just gone whole hog on steamrolling them, which I don't think they will. I think they have a little different motivation, which we will probably talk about in a moment. But I could see them cutting large swaths of Falcon territory, but
do you think
also,
the Falcons are actually going to have any territory?
Yeah, like, that's the question, is like, how many worlds can 127 warriors hold?
Well, I don't think they're going to hold any, because Alaric wants them to become the new Black Watch. Their job is going to be guarding the Star League Palace on Terra. So I think.
So would maybe their territory be Northwind then?
No, I don't think Alaric is going to give Tara her ancestral home. What I think is going to happen is the clan Jade Falcon OZ is going to become the first province, or second province because of the Wolf Empire, of the new Star League.
Yeah.
And then it will become, its resources will go directly to funding the Star League, Alaric's Star League, and Alaric's Star League will be responsible for defending it.
I mean, the one reason I think that they might give Northwind back to Tara is because in a conversation, Alaric basically explicitly says, yeah, recruiting from Northwind would probably help. And so having the actual operation be there, I think would ease tensions, instead of like, hey, we're going to take your best and ship them off planet and you'll probably never see them again.
Well,
and BT Dubs, they're a part of an organization that was a clan, but is now sort of a mix of what you were and what they were.
So Alaric can't give Northwind back to Terra. He doesn't own Northwind.
Mm-hmm.
He could give Tara back to Northwind and then try and recruit Northwind through her, like have her swear fealty to him as the First Lord of the Star League and have her be a noble in the new Terran Hegemony.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if he wants...
It's difficult to say because literally as we are recording right now, last couple days they announced Paid in Blood, which is the second of the trilogy dealing with Northwind and the Capellans. So who knows what goes on? I mean, if the Capellans take Northwind, that could be a liberation action.
Could be. That would be really interesting.
Isn't it actually out?
It's out on ebook, but I have not had a chance to either pick it up digitally or in print on demand because life.
Yeah, it.
Time is a thing.
If they go that route, I think that would really, really cheapen the Northwind Highlanders, because you're not bringing them in as equals. You're not saying, "Hey, Tara, these are your people. You're now a member of the Black Watch. Go back to your people, take up the reins of power on Northwind again, and help us bring them into the new Star League and the new Black Watch." It's, oh, look at Northwind. It's getting its by the Capellans. Alaric needs to ride in and save the day, and then they will follow him loyally because Tara does. It just feels, that kind of scenario feels too cheap and too pat, and that's the route they go. I'll be a little upset.
You say that, but as you're describing that, I'm like, that sounds exactly how Alaric thinks.
Yes, but it needs to stop working for him.
I'm not disagreeing.
Like, if that's what they do, like, Northwind needs to be like, no, Tara Campbell is dead. You killed her in Scotland. That's not Tara Campbell. That's Tara Wolf, or whatever you're calling her these days.
Yeah.
This is Northwind.
Scotland.
Yes, you came in and saved it. You helped us defeat the Capellans, but we don't owe you anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Northwind was a Capellan planet for
How
generations.
many years? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was not for generations.
Yeah, so I don't, like, they want to maintain their independence, but if they go back to the Capellan Confederation, I mean, they already have a precedent for, all right, well, we work for the Capellans, but we are a mercenary company, and the Capellans give us a certain degree of autonomy in our operations. So, I honestly, better to be under the Liaos, under the Capellans, than to be under the clans.
See, I'm just thinking all of this sounds absolutely awful for the planet, which would explain why we might get a bunch of Highlander mercenary units popping up of exiles,
Yeah.
But going on to another subject of political fallout, the Hell Horses show up at the end of the book to
Throw a tantrum.
Chandler, why don't you handle this one?
Hell's Horses show up, get mad they were invited. Alaric's like, "You mad, bro?" And then they're like, "Yes." That's almost the entire conversation, actually. And then Alaric gives him a dressing down for being mad about not being invited, and he's like, "You guys didn't even get here. Like, at least the Jade Falcons, however bad they were, they made it to the Fortress Republic. You guys were off in the boonies." And they get grumpy about that, and then they leave. That is their conversation.
I mean, he also gives them a dressing down for not being an invader clan, as in they migrated to the Inner Sphere as opposed to invading.
Yeah, he basically calls them out for being vultures that never do the fight themselves. They always show up late and pick over what's already been destroyed.
They were not happy about that.
The Walder phrase of Battletech, if you will.
They're not clan hell horses, it's clan hyena.
Hell's hyenas?
Yeah. But I think that's a good setup for a adversary, at least one of the clans, not completely jumping in line under Alaric. So I think that will be interesting to see play out.
Yeah.
Especially since we haven't really gotten a lot of Hell Horses as a main antagonist or protagonist. They're always in the margins.
I just don't want them to see. I just don't want to see them wind up being. Was it Clan Coyote in the Homeworld clans, who was basically persona non grata, was always pissing everybody else off? I don't want to see Hell's Horses become that.
Oh, well, no, it wasn't Coyote. It was
Wolverine.
No. This was after them. It wasn't Blood Spirit. Fire Mandrels?
That sounds right.
Jaguar?
No, Fire Mandrels, like, weren't they always just causing... there's an entire thing that I have a mental note to read about, which is, like, the Fire Mandrel...
Kindras?
Yes, I think that's it.
The other mini clans?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see them turn Hell's Horses into that kind of trope where they're always picking at the flanks and being the annoying brat in the group that everybody just kind of slaps down.
Fair, absolutely fair. But look at it this way. With the more of a focus of combined arms that they have going on right now, wouldn't it make sense to have at least an antagonist who's primarily vehicles?
Yes, and I would love to see Hell's Horses flip the bird to Alaric and be like, well, you're not the...
And the birds?
Yeah, and the birds. And not accept him as the Ill Clan and try to build up their own empire to take him on.
I think they pretty much have.
That'd be cool. I just don't want to see them be the...
Yeah, you just don't want them to be one-dimensional is what you're saying.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like some of the new stuff is a little memey. Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
That can be fair. I mean, especially, looks at Hazen.
Yeah, I don't want to see any of the current factions fall into any of the memes that previous factions were.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Bears is interesting. Go ahead, Chandler.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just about to start talking about Ghost Bears, so you go.
Yeah, Ghost Bears is interesting because they've tentatively acknowledged Alaric as the Ill Clan, but they're not getting whole hog behind the whole Ill Clan thing. They're like, well, yeah, you met the criteria, but, we're not just clan anymore, so we're going to take it slow because we're Ghost Bears and see how it works out. And, if we like what we see, then yeah, we'll probably go ahead and join your little thing over there. But you got to prove it to us first.
Yeah. And then I feel like Snow Ravens are mostly in the same boat, just with more conniving and scheming.
Yeah, I also think they're trying to use the fact that they have the Star Admiral, the one originally from their clan that joined Alaric's little cabal.
Yeah.
They're like, ooh, we might have an in, and I'm looking forward to him being like, no, you do not have an in.
I think they mentioned that a little bit when the Khan of the Snow Raven smacks down her Saw Khan, who's all grumpy about it, and she's like, "You're the reason he left, practically. You're the one that gave him all the assignments." And then he's like, "Okay, I guess I'll leave now." Effectively, granted, it still was a trial and everything, but he probably wouldn't have accepted it if he wasn't so, put down by the Saw Khan.
Yeah, the opportunity for Alaric would not have presented himself if the Saw Khan had treated his subordinate properly.
Yeah. So there's those clans. Sea Foxes, of course, Sea Fox, they're just going to be doing their deals off on the side.
Yeah, they're just going to be selling to everybody because Sea Fox. And are we going back to Hegemony credits? What do we think is the new currency standard that Alaric's going to set up?
Kerenskys. He's just going to transfer Kerenskys over.
Yeah, fair.
That's already what the clans use practically.
Just something,
anyway, I think.
Something I had not thought about until now. So they'll be getting them Kerenskys, so that's all they care about.
What I'm interested about is whether the Wolf Empire and Jade Falcon Occupation Zone, assuming they are, able to hold those worlds for some reason or another, whether they become sovereign Star League territory, or if they are merely a state within it, like the original Star League, where, the Free Worlds League and all these other places were technically, in air quotes, Star League territory, but they really weren't. They were vassals, essentially. Yeah, what kind of relationship that's going to be.
So if Alaric reforms the Terran hegemony like we have posited in previous episodes, how big do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be as big as the Republic was? Do you think it'll be smaller? Do you think it'll be bigger?
So that really depends on if he folds the Wolf Empire into it or not. I think if he does that, it'll certainly be bigger than the Republic. It also depends on how gung-ho the clans get about this new Star League and reforming some sort of Terran hegemony.
Yeah, because the Ghost Bears have territory right up to the fortress wall.
Yeah.
So, that's a good swath that if he at least reformed out to the previous Republic border would basically cost him a prefect. That was the name of their areas, right?
Yes.
For the Republic? Yeah.
Now, it would be interesting because Devlin Stone got a lot of that territory by demanding it from the houses. So if Alaric demands, okay, Ghost Bears, you're part of the Star League, but in order to be part of the Star League, you have to turn over the worlds in Prefecture 2, I think that would be. Would they do it? And, they'd have to take worlds from the Draconis Combine, because the Combines up to almost the fortress walls themselves. Have to do it with the Capellans. Lyrans and Fedsons probably aren't a big danger right now.
No, and I mean the Wolf Empire and the remnants of, or the reforming Free World League has kind of stabilized that border, so there's kind of what they have taken and then independent things which are aligned either with each other or the larger powers, if memory serves.
Good
There's
save,
like
by the
little
way.
pockets. Oh, yes. Well, when we're jumping around through eras, I mean, you got to give me the benefit of the doubt. Fair?
Yes. Oh, what was I going to say? Well, the Draconis Combine, if they do have to take worlds from them, they're going to be a pushover, practically, I think.
Yeah.
They are a wee
Like-
bit overextended.
Just a touch. And if he does need to take worlds from the Davians, he could very well make that deal where it's like, we will help you restabilize that border with, you know, the Draconis Combine in exchange for, you know, these worlds. And they may as well, they might take it just because then they don't have to garrison them. They don't have to upkeep them. They don't have to worry about them anymore. They can shift that focus elsewhere. But at the same time,
Didn't
you know,
Julian beat Alaric when they visited Terra for their for Victor Stanner Davian's funeral.
No. Alaric fought
Hoffman or whatever.
that was the trial he took the Raven Alliance officer in.
No, I'm talking the simulator battle.
Oh, the simulator battle. I don't recall.
Because I know they were on opposite sides, and Alaric was a problem for Julian, but
Googling.
Julian managed to, or maybe they were on the same side. It's been a while since I read that book. I'm gonna have to reread it because that bit of history between the two of them could lead to some interesting political dynamics.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the Lyran's best chance right now is to take territory from the Falcon OZ, try to regain territory there.
Mm-hmm.
Probably ignore the Wolf Empire as much as they can.
Well, if I recall correctly, their plan right now is to take Falcon worlds, but fund and supply guerrilla actions in the Wolf Empire.
Yeah, they just don't want to go after the Wolf Empire because they're weak and Alaric was fairly strong.
Yeah, just got to keep that plausible deniability.
The threat that Alaric poses, I think that's going to pull the Draconis Combine out of their attack on the Fedsons pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have to know they have a
Okay.
very weak flank there, and now they got the Conqueror of Terra sitting on that weak flank. And Julian's not going to roll over anytime soon, so they can't finish him off and then deal with the Wolves and Falcons.
Okay, so during the simulator battle, they were not on the same fronts, I think, if I'm reading this correctly, because Julian Davian faced off against Yori Kurita, and then Alaric was on the Steiner front with the Koreans, and he beat Jasek, Kelswa, Steiner, and Caleb Davian.
Okay.
Just to jump back there again, because, you know, we didn't leave that behind at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool potential for the upcoming Ill Clan era. I just,
Oh, yeah.
like I said, I don't want them to make any of the factions into a meme. You
Don't
know,
let your memes be dreams.
that's my biggest concern.
We want depth in our science fiction about giant stompy robots.
Yeah,
Giant
because to me
stompy
it's not
robots go
about
brr.
the stompy robots. It's about the depth and the political machinations and these nuanced characters that, you know, that's what Dark Ages was for a
Mhm.
large portion of it. And I don't want to go away from that.
Yeah. Now, Battletech is very much a political beast when it's at its best, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So that's where we're going to leave off with the political fallout, and we will pick up again next episode to talk more about it. But now we're going to move on to our data dive with the Terran Hegemony Part 10, Content Warning, Infant Mortality.
Ugh.
When last we spoke of the Terran Hegemony, we had covered the Treaty of Geneva that was the first cornerstone of the foundation of the Star League, signed by Albert Merrick of the Free Worlds League, Terrence Liao of the Capellan Confederation, and Ian Cameron of the Terran Hegemony. That left Ian to convince House Steiner, House Davian, and House Krita to join, and incidentally, it left them and the periphery states out. Ian Cameron is long held to be the father of the Star League, the mastermind, the man with a vision and a golden tongue.
The tyrant.
And while this is And while this is true, it often relegates his allies that stood beside him to secondary or support positions. This in my opinion, is an unfortunate necessity of human nature, for a society is not built on history. It is built on the myth the population tells themselves about that history and identify with. For this reason, we have great person history recorded to simplify the records, when the truth is often that the great person is one of many steering the social momentum. The two other great people I wish to mention in the same breath as Ian is that of Albert Merrick and his wife, Chandler Noruf. Albert is not new to this class, but with the signing of the Accords, he did not reduce his support of Ian's dream. Albert would often enact the will of Ian when Ian could not, given Ian plausible deniability to bribe, backroom deal, and apply economic pressure Albert enacted during these times. Whenever Ian arrived for negotiations, you can be sure that Albert had primed the situation. This is not to say that the Terran Hegemony was not also doing the same, but economic actions by your neighbor are one thing, by two of them is another entirely. And Ian and the Terran Hegemony as the figurehead were under great scrutiny when Albert Merrick and the actions of the Free World League were not. The other is Sandra Noruf, Ian Cameron's wife. The history of their marriage is one unique to the Terran Hegemony, for it was an arranged marriage. Arranged marriages throughout the history are common, and were also common in other houses at the time, but the Terran Hegemony and its people prided themselves on personal freedom and choice. And so when news of the arrangement was announced, many in the population did not look at it favorably. But the two who disliked it the most were in fact the bride and groom, for both Sandra and Ian, noted as being strong, intelligent, and stubborn, both resented that choices their parents had made for them. The first meeting a few years after the announcement went poorly. After pressing from both groups of parents, the two started writing each other, and through that they developed a bond that grew into a strong relationship. Two examples of how each grew to rely on each other and trusted each other implicitly can be seen when their first child was born and then died. For their first child was born with a heart defect and was not able to be saved even by the Terran Hegemony's royal medical technology. For a week, the two stood vigil over the child until the fateful moment of the child's release. Many feared that this event would shatter the marriage, but the tragedy only reinforced their bond, and when they returned to public life 2 years later, they were inseparable, and none questioned their commitment. The second was when others encouraged a break in that commitment. For many years after the birth and death of their first child, a second had not appeared. Many in the royal court grew concerned that Ian had no heir, and one had not been designated. And to remedy this, Ian was encouraged to take a paramour, or even find a new wife who could provide him with the next generation of Camerons. Ian rebuked all notions and suggestions on this subject, and after many years, an announcement finally came from the royal palace. Chandra was with child. The child would be Nicholas Cameron. It is my belief that Ian Cameron would not have been able to achieve the dream of the Star League without these two providing logistical and emotional support. With the events on Terra in Geneva and the ink dried, Ian looked to the Larian Commonwealth as the next member to join the secret alliance that would be the Star League. Ian had made many overtures to the Commonwealth over the years, even traveling to Tharkad for secret negotiations. But it was all fruitless, and Archon Craig Steiner resisted the idea, fearing that the Commonwealth would be consumed by the growing economic alliance. When Craig stepped down in 2555, Tracel Steiner rose in their place, and had the perspective that the gains to the Commonwealth were worth the risk. The economic boons, reduction in trade barriers, and granting of technology and knowledge that would drastically shorten the technological gap between the Larian Commonwealth and the Terran Hegemony elevated the Larian Commonwealth above the Draconis Combine. As part of the finalization of the agreement for the Larian Commonwealth joining the Star League, 2 elite military academies were built, one on Tharkad and one on Sky, ensuring that the Larian Commonwealth officers would receive some of the best training that the Terran Hegemony could provide, if taking the lion's share for the SLDF. At this time, it is also important to note that the Terran Hegemony technically was growing. It had an expansion with the Shared Worlds program in the past, providing terraforming technology to other houses for a percentage of the planet's GDP. normally paid in resources, but we are now talking about the second wave of expansion. For as the Age of War dragged on, many of the planets along the borders of the other houses were contested back and forth, often reaching a standstill. As a continuation of Lady Deborah Cameron's policy of aggressive peacemaking, the Terran Hegemony negotiated and brokered deals with the conflicting parties, often the two houses controlling parts of the planet as a result. For their troubles of being arbiter and administration, and for maintaining the peace, the Terran Hegemony would receive a portion of the planet's GDP, often around 10% or less. While these planets were not numerous, they were often resource-rich, the reason they were always being fought over. And so no one planet was a windfall, but as they all started to add up, it was a boon of resources to the exhausted Terran Hegemony. And with the Larian Commonwealth signing on and committed, despite the hiccups we will talk about in the future, Ian now turned to the two remaining houses, the Draconis Combine and the Federated Suns. Both had been a problem for the Terran Hegemony, the Draconis Combine constantly pressing its borders out to expand and fulfill their cultural doctrine of supremacy. The Federated Suns had or was emerging from a bloody and protracted civil war, a civil war that had seen fighting spill over its borders. Both leaders wished to join, seeing the benefits of the de-escalation of the military actions and increased trade would bring. For it is a old but true adage that when people and goods cross borders, troops don't. And for once it is nice to see the leaders of humanity start to put away their weapons of war and work to build a better future for their people. There being a operative word.
Yeah, and only for so long.
Yeah. But this is where we will leave off today, with the expansion of the Secret Alliance that would become the Star League.
Yeah, that's right. We did it first. Free Worlds League. We did it first.
First signing bonus, right?
Yeah.
Taurian Concordat. We did it last, and we made it hurt.
It hurt the entire time.
Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, Succession Wars TRO and RS, TRO 3050 Upgrades, Record Sheets 3050 Upgrades, Clans and Star League, Starter Book Sword and Dragon, Battle of Tukiad Supplemental, Experimental Tech Most Wanted, TRO 3145 Davian, TRO 3145, Record Sheets 3145 Unabridged, Ill Clan Recognition Guide Volume 12, and the Star League Sourcebook.
TRO 3039.
The book, Sword of Sedition.
In 2750.
This podcast is made possible by our supporters on patreon.com/on the Origin of Battlemechs, link in the description. Our social media on Twitter is at Origin of Mechs. We also have a community Discord, the Armory of Ouroboros, link in the description. You can email us at ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review on your platform of consumption, tell your friends about us, and share on your community platform of choice. Special thanks to my friend Laura for the intro and outro. Class dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Peace out, Mech Warriors.
Stay safe out there.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?
Personal right. Sorry, I need some water. I'm a little...
Don't drink water, drink beer.
Water. I don't need it.
Tonight I'm having a
I don't need
micro brew from the Oregon coast.
Ooh.
it. I need it.
I can't think the last time I got beer. I think it was probably just before the current situation. And yeah.
No
Anyway.
wonder you're thirsty.
My favorite.
Hey, that
My
isn't to
favorite
say I
beer
haven't been picking up
is-
bottles of a hard bar, so, you know, mixed drinks.
Yeah. My favorite beer is the one that someone else buys for me.
So I worked with a guy, and he had this philosophy that the world's best beer is always the beer you are drinking, because it is the one you are enjoying right then in the moment.
It's not wrong.
It's an interesting philosophy.
Mm-hmm. But getting back to the Black Knight,